we doing? Let's get this camera on. How are we today? Welcome to the stream. We'll just let people filter in before we get started properly. How are we all? Can we all hear me fine? Can we all see me fine? I have to confess, as ever, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to talk about today. So, I guess we're just going to fucking see where it goes. We've got some wine lined up. We've got some music lined up. The reason that the stream is called What the Hell's Going On is because I don't know what we're going to do. So, here we go. Does everyone like the Crow t-shirt my brother got me for Christmas? It's a nice Crow t-shirt. I kind of don't like how it makes me seem like I'm doing a sort of ironic brag. I just like crows. I think crows are interesting animals. Clever birds. My granddad had raised some lost crows when he was still living, and they would come back and visit him sometimes. They hated it when you tied your laces. They would, if you tied your laces, my granddad's crows would run up to you, untie your laces, and then look at you as if they're like, why would you do that? Why would you tie this lace? I already untied it for you. And then you tie it again, and they sort of squawk at you and run up to you, and they're like, I just untied this. What the fuck are you playing at? And then they'd untie it again. And then they'd sit on his head and peck at his hair. It was all very nice. I didn't grow up in a fairy tale. This is just a real thing that used to happen with my grandfather. Another story. We're starting off with granddad stories for the stream today. Another story from my granddad is when my mum was younger, my granddad had guinea pigs. Anyways, because she's, like me, horribly allergic to guinea pigs. I mean, I can't be in a room with a guinea pig, or else I will have an asthma attack and die. So if I ever die with a guinea pig in the room, know that I've been assassinated, because there's no way I would voluntarily be in a room with a guinea pig. I know my limits, and guinea pig is the limit. If someone finds my dead body with guinea pigs around, guinea pig fibers, it was a hit. Just so you know. So my granddad had these guinea pigs, but these guinea pigs were constipated, and every night he would have to squeeze them out over the bathtub, like little toothpaste tubes to get the poo out. So there was a nightly ritual of him squeezing out the guinea pigs to get their little constipated poos out every night. An animal lover, my granddad. Sometimes he'd stop a car if he saw a rabbit, and he'd, like, when he was a younger man, bolt out the car. This was before seatbelts were invented, so he'd slam on the brakes and like leap out the car and run, and like the fucking rabbit hunting Terminator, and grab the rabbits and stroke the rabbits and come back and show them to his family. And that was his life. He was an animal lover, a talented man, and I don't know why we've started on this tone tonight, but here we go. We're starting on this. Does anyone know what's going on? No, we're talking about my granddad and his influence, his history with various animals. I don't know why this is where we started, but I was just waiting for folk to filter in, and I thought it was a nice little story. It's not that confusing. I don't know what's so confusing about this is that my granddad used to run and catch rabbits so that he could stroke them. He'd squeeze out his constipated guinea pigs over the bathtub every night. I'm deathly allergic to guinea pigs, so if I am in a room, if I'm ever found dead in a room with guinea pigs, you know it was a hit. And also my granddad kept crows. Crow t-shirt. He didn't keep crows, he rescued crows, and they didn't like it when you tied your lace. That's what's happened so far. Yeah. Let's I guess we can start then. I guess folk have filtered in. And we can start as we always do. If there's anyone new here, I'm going to pop out this chat to make it bigger so I can see it properly instead of peering at it like an old man. John the Duncan looks like a mix between Mike Feist and Daniel Sloss. I only know who Daniel Sloss is, and I get that to a degree. We kind of both have long faces, and we both have that Scottish pallor that's so characteristic of our kind. I don't know who Mike Feist is, so I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Let's start with some wine. So, today's wine we've got, it's already open, but I've not taken a drink yet because I respect you lot too much. My flatmate, it's from my flatmate, and he's taken a sip and he said it's very nice. So I guess we'll see if his palate is good. It's better than mine, anyway. So this is called Nals Margried. It's a 2022 Pinot Bianco, which I think means white penis. So this is a white penis wine. Its ingredients are in not English, so I can't read them. There's no wine bullshit on this. So maybe that means it's good, because often when we get wines from Sainsbury's, the reduced section, they have they always have like some wine bullshit written on it, as like taste the sunshine in these grapes of Sainsbury's £6 wine. And I can always just taste the piss more than anything else. But this doesn't have some bullshit, so I guess we'll just have to do my own sort of palate test to see if I detect any notes, see what it's like. For anyone who's new, this is what we do. We drink wine, we chat, we make music. Something usually gets unhinged. And that's basically it. I've got no plans today, so who knows what we're talking about. It smells nice. It smells like wine. I can tell you about some of my job mayhem as well in a minute, which is with no specifics, but there's some job mayhem that's going on. We got a lot of early folk coming in today. Normally it takes a while. Welcome. Oh, that's very nice. I don't know what notes are in there. It does have that piss colour, but that is also the colour of wine. You do have to admit, wine does quite often look like piss. White wine. If your piss looks like red wine, see a doctor. Talk about Soren Mao's book, Mute Compulsion. I can fucking do that. I read that book last year and I thought it was fine but limited. I don't know what notes are in that wine, but the wine is nice. We've hit a good wine. Hallelujah, a good wine. Yeah, I can talk about Soren Mao's book. Soren Mao's book, Mute Compulsion, is best read as, I think, as a textbook, which gives a fairly good overview of various debates in Marxist schools. The central argument of the book is that there is an impersonal power to capital, which goes beyond pure agent-defined limits, which is useful for a number of reasons. It's useful for our arguments arguments I've made about cooperatives and the limits of cooperatives under capitalism, because... Sorry, I thought the cat had gotten in there, but he hadn't. because cooperatives can't escape the impersonal laws of capital within the system, and that's handy. I think its biggest weakness as a book is that he understands things like race as being internally constitutive of capital and class relations, and he understands this through some classic examples. Michael Leibowitz's X Factor of Capital, and Marx's work where he examines the inherent ways in which labour is divided between different racial elements. Marx's example is between the Irish and the English workers, which is more than just a sort of ephemeral or ideological division dividing the working class through, telling them that race exists. This isn't like a superstructural thing. It's an element that's internally constitutive of class relations, and that's good. But for some reason, he doesn't extend that to gender. He is abridged of a lot of the social reproduction theory work, which highlights that. But for some reason, that doesn't quite land. I don't think his argument for why gender should be excluded from this makes sense or holds much weight. And that's odd to me. But overall, I'd say it was a fairly decent book. I think it gives a lot of good overviews into a lot of contemporary debates in Marxism, and I'd probably recommend reading it. I did a review of it on Patreon a while back that got into these elements. Hey, good work, algorithm. Yeah. Alright. Let's fill out this tune first and we'll wait for some folk to filter in. Shall we make a new tune, do you think? And then we can, we'll make a new tune. And then we'll figure out what we're going to talk about today. Because I've got no idea. We're gonna keep this for a bit, but not too happy with that. We'll see how it is. We'll think of something else in a minute. Thomas Claude saying, I don't know. I would classify capitalist production as an anarchistic. I think it's more the opposite, especially in pursuit of suppressive order and inequality. So there's two different. It's an interesting question. There's two different ways in which you can view it as anarchistic. So there's like anarchistic in the sense that it is unplanned. The production happens in the anarchy of the market. But it depends on your, to get Marxist for a second, you know how we like to do that here. Depends on your level of abstraction. So one of the things that Marx talks about is that capitalism appears anarchistic. It appears as competition, and this is something that Mao talks about in his book, is that there is an apparent anarchy of competition, but that anarchy of competition obscures that capital doesn't exist necessarily like within the specific moment of the capitalist, but all these capitals are part of, they're all segments of one overriding capital logic. And in the sense that overriding capital logic structures things, then the actual sort of anarchistic tendencies disappear, and suddenly there's one sort of overriding force at work. So there is definitely a sense that there's an anarchy of production, and that's one of the things that needs to be overcome in producing socialism or communism, especially in the context of global warming and climate catastrophe, where we need to be able to plan specifically how we're going to not have climate catastrophe. There has to be elements of planning involved. I would say lots of elements of planning, conscious planning with production, to overcome that anarchy. But the anarchy itself is an illusion to some extent, depending on the level of abstraction. So it's not there when you say that there's an anarchism of competition. No socialist or Marxist would view that as like anarchism, the left political tendency. They would view it as a distinct phenomenon. So it's definitely not the same thing. All right. What are we going to chat about? Today? Oh, does anyone want to hear about the absurdities of the early career academic world? Take a seat. We're going to get into John's jobless corner. So I currently work at an institution where I lecture, and I have been there for lecturing for a couple months. I have not got any institutional access or anything like that. I have to, like when I was lecturing on Monday, I had to wait by the front desk while someone emailed confirmation that I was allowed in the building. At this point, I had been there for 5 weeks. I don't have access to a whole bunch of stuff. And in the process of getting access, getting a contract, getting access to the institutional, the online platforms that are required to do teaching, I had to fill out an application for my own job. Which is great. It makes total sense. So today I filled out 2 job applications. One for the job I already have, and another for a job I want. It's funny that adjunct saying it. Yeah, we don't really have the notion of adjunct professors in the UK. It's sort of, I guess the title is sort of associate lecturer, but we don't really have that adjunct professors, because to be a professor in the UK is a high-ranking position. But because like people think about professors, and that's part of the way in which a lot of international students engage with English language academia is through the American filter. So many of the students call me professor, and I just can't correct them every time. I don't have the heart to be like, I'm not a professor. I'm not a professor. I might never be. I'm teaching a course in human rights and international relations. And it's good. The students are great. I like teaching. It's good fun. I like a lot of the students are. I was worried because it's a module out of a international relations course. I was worried it would be a lot of international relations students, and I don't know if anyone knows anything about international relations, but it's often filled with freaks. People who want to work for, the British state, or for fucking MI5 or MI6 or fucking whatever, getting into security studies, that sort of shit. So I was a bit worried that I would have to deal with a lot of odd people with their odd opinions. But it's actually been really good. A lot of them don't seem to have this kind of perspective of that you would associate with sort of international relations students, which is really good. And yeah, do I find any insight from the students? Of course. I mean, the students have not done any essays yet. It's just a module. They have they do presentations, and some of them have done there are only 2 presentations so far, but their final essays aren't due until the end of May or mid-May or something. So I've not had a chance yet. I did have a strange essay once. I was marking, so I do marking for a course, an online course for a university, and one of the classes that I mark for is genocide studies, and it's like a master's degree, and one of the modules is genocide studies, and one of the questions was about the relationship between colonialism and genocide. An important part of critical genocide studies. And I was reading this one. I was doing some marking on the train down from Scotland once, and most of the essays are perfectly fine. There was one that was like odd. It was kind of strange because they began it and they were talking about the colonial view of genocide through Raphael Lemkin's work, and citing Raphael Lemkin and everything. It's normally like a sign that they're going to take a view that colonialism and genocide are linked, not that they're not linked. But they kept doing this thing where they'd write about examples. They'd picked some examples. One of them was Tasmania. And they were describing the hellish things that settlers did in Tasmania, the genocidal things that they did. But they got to the end of the sort of section, and then they wrote at the end of the section, but such and such author proved that this wasn't genocide because there was no intent. And I was like, that's an odd thing. That's an odd turn, because with all of the evidence laid out, and with the sort of neo-Lemkinian view, established, you would think that would be an odd line for someone to take. And it kept happening. All the various examples they were doing, like, here's all this horrible situation, descriptions of the horrible things. But at the end of the section they'd say, but this author disproved that it was genocide. Not contested, but disproved that it was genocide by saying that there was no intent. And I was like, this is a very odd essay. Like, there's lots of good information there, but it was an odd essay. And then it got to the end, and the very last paragraph of the conclusion, the student had written, the only reason that anyone claims colonialism is inherently genocidal is to humiliate Israel on the international stage. And I was in the train when I was marking this and literally went, fucking hell, out loud. I was like, whoa, the rest of the essay makes a lot more sense now, but I was like, fuck me. I was, yeah, you get odd things now and then. I did Loner Box, write the essay, yeah. Loner Box, you mean my Wario? My Scottish YouTube Wario. It was really odd, and then, like, I ended up giving the essay like a reasonably good mark because, you know, while it was odd, there was a lot of, you know, the student had demonstrated familiarity with the literature and had demonstrated an ability to engage with it, even if they did say something that was completely unjustifiably absurd in the essay. But, like, you know, what can you do? The rest of the essay was odd, but demonstrated like an engagement with the course and with the literature. I haven't checked. You're not gonna get me to listen to Macklemore. No matter how many good things he says, I'm not gonna listen to him. I do still have standards. On the topic of sustainability, which reservations and skepticisms is relevant in the term environment, social and governance, business, accounting and development. Sorry, let me read this closer. On the topic of sustainability, which reservations and skepticism is relevant in terms of environment, social... Sorry, Thomas Claude, I'm not sure what that question means. Can you reframe that? Yeah, let that man Mackle off. I was planning on watching the new episodes of Daredevil before coming on stream, so I'd have something to talk about. But I didn't, and I'm gonna watch it after the stream. Macklemore, you know, I just associate him so much with 2010. I can't listen to Macklemore without thinking about my school lunch hall and the fact that, like, the music channel cycled through I'm gonna pop some tags, Lady Gaga's Telephone and 212 on a fucking loop. It is a shame that Macklemore did that absurdly anti-Semitic dress up, where he claimed it was the things that came out of a dressing up box, but he put on, like, a big fake nose and essentially a rabbi uniform to do a performance. And I think that's a shame. It's a shame that that happened. It's a shame that he did that. It's not ideal for everything. Thrift shop. That's what the song's called. I forgot what the song was called. It wasn't called Charity Shop. Charity Shop is the British version of thrift shop. What annoyed me actually, and I'm going to change the music after I talk about this. And I'm going to talk about Mad Men because I want to talk about Mad Men. Have you all seen the this fucking, you know, the guy who did the Planet of the Bass song? He's done this new song that's like making fun of, or like doing a parody of, in his view, 90s like British rap. And what's really annoying like about that is it's so vague a parody that it doesn't make any sense. And everyone's like, oh, this parody is great, such a great parody of British rap. It's like, no, it's not. He's got like a jungle beat mixed with lyrics that are like confused about the era that they're supposed to be imitating, and he's dressed wrong in his fucking parody videos. It really annoys me. People keep talking about it. It's like he's a complete failure of parody. It's just a generic, like, it's like an American's been told about what British rap is like, and from that has extrapolated a parody, and it doesn't make sense. And I keep seeing all these Americans be like, oh, this is such a fun, great parody. It's not. Shit parody. Stop showing it to me. He's blown through his goodwill with me, fucking Planet of the Bass guy. It's like he didn't understand what the Planet of the Bass song was either. He thought it was about like a vaguely racist Eastern European song when it should have been Nordic, and he didn't understand that. Anyway, I'm gonna make a tune, and then we're gonna talk about Mad Men. I think this is quite nice. I like Dave and Little Sims are both great. I like Dave and Little Sims, both of them are great. Alright, who wants to hear my reflections on Mad Men and how Don Draper is maybe the saddest man who's ever lived? Fictionally. Because I've just started watching Mad Men and it's fucking brilliant. I didn't realise it was going to be this good. It's... What made me think of this? So I got sort of attacked by the far right again. I had another Sargon of Akkad fucking pile on, which is unfortunate because it made my Twitter unusable for a few days as you know, I got a collection of death threats. Fewer homophobic death threats than last time. Hello, how's it going? You've come just in time for me to describe the past few weeks and Mad Men, and they're connected. So yeah, I can't remember what it was. Oh yes, so fucking all this woke shit. I don't want to talk about it too much today because I'm still on Twitter. I need to be on Twitter because if I'm not on Twitter, I lose money. I'm not fucking monetized on Twitter, but I have a large platform there that I need to keep to get money making videos. I can't abandon that. You know, it's not great when your source of income is taken over by Nazi, but it's still my source of income. Yeah, so we were talking about this fucking in the UK. There was this whole fucking thing with Sam Fender, a singer who incidentally was hanging out with Johnny Depp on the day that Johnny Depp was found guilty of various abusive crimes, which he was found guilty of. Sam Fender was hanging about with this Johnny Depp character. Anyway, Sam Fender had done this sort of fucking interview in which he talked about like how it's bad to talk about privilege because, you know, a working class guy from an old pit town doesn't have privilege, and all these people were talking about, like, various people on Twitter and left Twitter were talking about, like, oh, are these working class men in the north of England, how do they have privilege? And I made a joke tweet alighting to that, saying, well, of course, it's mad how everyone in the north of England is a white man. The joke being, in reference to that obviously not everyone in the north of England is a white man, and there are people who are from pit towns, women, they exist in the north, it turns out, who, on top of being from poor backgrounds, also suffer the misogyny and division of labour, gender division of labour that still characterises our entire society. I mean, it turns out, for a lot of people, they seem to think that in the north of England, men just sort of appear from the fucking mines, like, they sort of emerge from the dirt, flat cap on, as if they're just like fucking creatures of the earth themselves, rather than products of the actual world. And they're all white and they're all men and there's no women about, apparently. So I made a wee joke tweet about that, and it broke containment because a lot of people liked the tweet because it was a funny tweet, because I'm a funny guy, and it broke containment, and Carl Benjamin found it, who indeed is still around. Last time I was threatened by him or his group, someone said that he should sue me for calling him a white supremacist. So I took a look on his Twitter, and the top video on his link, his pinned tweet was in defense of Rhodesia. And I thought, you know, if Carl Benjamin tried to sue me on the grounds that he's not a white supremacist, I would just show the judge the top tweet of on his channel that says in defense of Rhodesia, and I think I would win that case. Anyway, he's still about. He's I always thought it was so funny how homoerotic Carl Benjamin's whole deal is. Like, it's so erotic in a very specific way, and like a kind of like erotic fantasy way, to like imagine yourself as this figure that's often depicted topless, surrounded by, and like a lot of his illustrations in the old Sargon of Akkad days are him surrounded by all these men listening to him while he opines, sort of lounging shirtlessly on a fucking lounge chair, I guess. And the thing is, it's gay as fuck. And it's funny that it's gay as fuck, because obviously he's very homophobic. Basically, he quote tweeted me something about like, oh, the left are so mad that they don't see brown people up north. Fully, obviously not understanding the joke, because because how could he? It was a joke that was about a specific thing. That Carl Benjamin's not that clued in with the internal debates of left Twitter, it turns out. And my response to him was that women are so effective at avoiding Carl Benjamin that he finds it really easy to actually imagine a world that is exclusively made up of men. And he dreams about it, I guess, because that's how he illustrates himself on his YouTube channel. You know, fun. But anyway, last time I got them on my tail, I ended up changing my Twitter profile picture to one that was less visibly queer. It's my old profile picture. I had like glitter on my face, and it was a good picture. It looked hot. But there's only so much sort of homophobic death threats you can receive before you're like, I'm gonna change this one for now. But this time, they couldn't make fun of me for looking gay, but they did call me Jewish a lot. There was a lot of people who were zooming in on my nose and accusing me of being Jewish, getting into my DMs and calling me a race traitor and some bad stuff going on in my DM requests. But the way that this interacts with Mad Men, to circle back, the way that this interacts with Mad Men is that I obviously muted that tweet because I had things to do. But some of these people like follow me now because they have nothing better to do than shout at a person who doesn't care that they exist. And I was watching Mad Men, and I just posted about how Mad Men's great because you can watch an episode and you think, is Don Draper gonna get even sadder this episode? Like, he can't possibly. And then like 5 minutes into the show, he starts staring wistfully into the middle distance, and you're like, yeah, that's a sad fucking guy. And a few of these sort of Carl Benjamin fans didn't much like the implication that Don Draper was a sad man, or didn't like the notion that he'd been made a sad man. They sort of were saying that he was, what were the words, like, nerfed by Jewish Hollywood. A Chad nerfed by Jewish Hollywood, which fundamentally is a very sad thing to say and makes me think that you've never left a basement in your life if you say something like that. But it did get me thinking about Mad Men and how interesting the way that Don Draper is kind of framed in popular. I don't want to sound cringe, but like in the meme culture of Don Draper. And it is interesting because he's kind of framed as like, oh, this sort of womanizing, like, smoking hot guy who's like this sort of uber Chad fucking Sigma maxing fucking John Hamm and his his Mad Men era. And I watched the show, and like the very first episode, it's like, god damn, this guy is hollow. Like, this is a uncompromising look at the caged sadness. It's a fundamental critique of the way in which societies cage people and stop them from being happy because of the rules that they set themselves and that society bounds them in. And those rules being patriarchy, masculinity, and racism. every episode, you're like, Don Draper is so sad because he doesn't realize that Don Draper would be happier, and I know this for a fact. Don Draper would be happy if he was able to live in a polyamorous cooperative housing unit in East London in 2020. If he was a fucking like gardener in a housing co-op in a bisexual polyamorous situation, that guy would fucking thrive. He would be living his fucking dream. If he could afford the rent, can afford the life, he could, smoke as many cigarettes as he wanted, drink as much as he wanted, explore all the fruits of God's love, and he'd be so much happier. But instead he's trapped within the suffocating confines of 1960s America in a marriage that he doesn't understand why it doesn't make him happy. With children he loves but doesn't understand why they don't make him feel whole. Hiya Sanan, how's it going? We were just talking about how John Hamm, well, John Hamm actually probably as well, but Don Draper from Mad Men would have been happy living in a East London warehouse housing cooperative in a polyamorous situation, spreading across the genders, which I am 100% sure he would be. Brilliant. Done with the stream. What percentage of sadness is due to working in advertising? He loves working in advertising. I don't think his work is something that he doesn't like. I think he, at least at the point that I'm at, which is season 3, I've got a lot of work yet to go. I think his work is the thing that makes him happy. He likes doing it. He likes advertising. He's creative. Perhaps if he had a way to be creative outside of the confines of advertising, he would also be happy. Don is unhappy because his wife and daughter are bad actresses. That is fully disagree with that. That is absolutely untrue. What's her name? Is it January? So, whatever her name is, who plays Betty Draper, is a good actress. Betty Draper is a really interesting character as well. Trapped in her own role, but kind of unable to grow up beyond the infantilizing position that patriarchal society demands of her. Also unhappy, deeply unhappy as well, but doesn't understand why. Thinks that if just Dom would just love her the way that she wants him to, then she'd be happy. She wouldn't be happy. It's great. Mad Men's great. The one person I hate uncritically, there's a character, what's he called? What's he called? There's a little fucking snide character. I hate him. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, fuck you, guy. Pete Campbell. Pete Campbell can go fuck himself. I hate Pete Campbell. He's a fucking snide little weasel man. He's the one that I hate. And he's not even the one who does blackface. Roger, I got a shock last night. There was I was watching an episode and it's flashed up at the start. There was character in this does blackface. It's part of the historical moment. And you're like, well, you know, it's obviously justifiable as a bit of art to reflect on the historical period. And then you're sitting there watching the whole episode and you're thinking, where's this blackface going to appear? Is it going to be someone that they've hired to do blackface? And then it hard cuts to handsome Roger Sterling in fucking full blackface singing a minstrel song, and you are just like, whoa, that fucking hit quick. That was a turn and a half. I was feeling deeply, deeply sad about the state of Don Draper's crushing, empty depression, and then you just fucking hard cut to some blackface, and I was like, whoo, what? If I hadn't been warned, that would have knocked me the fuck down. There's a guy in Mad Men who looks like Colonel Sanders. I can't remember what his name is either. But yeah, Mad Men. What a show. What a great time to look at the saddest men in the world. And it's so funny that a show that is fundamentally about the crushing depression and emptiness caused by masculinity and patriarchy gets popularly reframed as, you know, the meme, the most famous meme from Mad Men is the, you know, I feel bad for you, I don't think about you at all meme. And I know people point out that, like, obviously in that scene, I've not gotten to that scene yet in the show, but in that scene, obviously Don is feeling like thinking about the guy all the time. Well, I know the context of the meme, but within the wider context of the show, if you think anything Don says isn't like immensely sad, like every line you just look at him and you think, yeah, that guy is immensely sad. That is a guy who has crushing emptiness inside him that he does not understand and does not know how to fill. But God, is he hot. And that's what all these fucking incels see, is hot Don Draper who has sex with women. And that means, you know, he's living the perfect life. Ignore the crushing depression. Ignore that I am, at this point, certain that his life will not last past the final episode of the show. Things aren't looking great for Don. His whole life, like, I guess to unpack it, like, if the show is a critique of masculinity and the fact that masculinity is a constant performance that makes you hide a true part of yourself and ultimately makes you quite sad, the show makes this explicit by the fact that Don Draper is literally performing the life of another man. For anyone who's not seen, this is barely a spoiler, it's within the first few episodes of the show. Don Draper isn't really his name. He's a guy called Dick Whitman who essentially stole the identity of another man. This is the basis of the show. And even in stealing that life that he thinks would be perfect for him, performing a life that's not really him, with the suits and the smoking and the affairs and the whiskey, he still can't be happy, because that's just fundamentally it's a performance, and it's hiding his real true self, and he doesn't think he can share it himself with other people. The only times you ever see him happy are when he's sharing his actual self with someone else, which happens very rarely. Those are the only times when he's not performing an ideal of masculinity in some way. that's when he's happiness. And I guess what I'm saying is that Don Draper's trans. Now that's how you get right-wingers triggered. I'm not sure. I think what's there's interesting bits and pieces about Mad Men that are like relics of the era in which it was made, which I think make it kind of different to more contemporary prestige TV. That the attacks on the critiques of capitalism and patriarchy are not as overt. They're not spoken quite as clearly. It's all just sort of implied and played out through the narrative, and it makes it really effective. Similarly with anything that's kind of mirrors contemporary political discourse. So there's like there was a scene when they were talking, the ad agency is talking about maybe taking on Richard Nixon as a client to try and get him elected. And they're talking about like who America will buy as a president. What kind of person will America buy? And obviously at the time, this is a period where Obama was running for president. And the question of like, will America buy a black man as president was one that was used all the time. And oh my god, a Don Draper drag king would be so fucking good. It would go so hard. You are so right. We are producing drag kings. This stream is a fucking treadmill for producing drag king content. We have drag king Santa Buddy by Michael Bublé, drag king performance for a Christmas drag king. Drag king Don Draper. Are you depressed? Time to completely shed yourself of masculinity, the pure performance of it. You either realize it's a performance and you perform it better, or you shed the performance. God, so good. You're so right. Everyone applaud Moi Mimi. Mimi? Moi Mimi? Everyone applaud them. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought because that was such a good idea. Oh yes. So they were talking about like Obama. No, they weren't talking about. They were talking about who America will buy as president. And you think that like I've seen Drag King Shrek. It's been done. It's good. In a more contemporary show, you feel like they would almost certainly, in a scene like that, you would have someone almost directly turn to camera and be like, who are they going to accept next? Some New York businessman or something like that, or some celebrity, and it'd be like the most sort of hammer-headed, ham-fisted fucking Donald Trump metaphor that you could ever come across. But the way that they did the critique, the contemporary mirroring, was subtle, and that made it more effective. And it did make you wonder whether there's certain aspects of prestige TV that have been lost to the eras of streaming prestige and Netflix screen caps. Yeah, I should probably stop talking about Mad Men, because I could talk about it for ages, and I'm going to keep talking about it because there's so many series of it and I've got so much to go. Shall we make a new track then? Shall we do something? It's probably time for something disco, isn't it? Later. Oh. See you later, Shay. Thanks for popping in. You are allowed to yell out modes and scales while I do this, yes. And I don't have to play them. I don't have to do fucking anything. I can do anything I want. quite fun. Not quite the disco that I was hoping for, but still quite fun. My favourite shows nowadays? Well, right now, obviously Mad Men is up there. 'Cause it's fucking brilliant. I'm also enjoying Severance a lot. I think Severance is really fun, really good. I think it's as Severance. I like the first series of Severance. I thought it was fun, but I didn't think the first series went beyond the confines of its own conceit, which made it, which left it being like, you know, it was all right. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed that first series, but it never was elevated as much. But the second series, I think, has gotten beyond the conceit of its original concept in a way that's quite fun and interesting, and without losing sight of what it's actually critiquing. I think it's been really good, and its cinematography has been fucking brilliant. Its character moments have been great. Yeah, I've been enjoying Severance a lot. Oh, I have watched Andor. Of course I've watched Andor. Not only have I watched Andor, vaguely binary, you clearly haven't watched all my videos, because in my video on public intellectuals, I use Andor as a really good example of organic intellectualism, and not the show itself, but the characters in the show. I use specifically not beautiful Trotsky, the little boy, whatever his name is, who writes the manifesto, who's obviously Trotsky, but Andy Serkis's character. I use him as a good example of an organic intellectual. And Nemec, yes, little Trotsky Nemec. He's great. I love him. I love Nemec. But the best example of an organic intellectual in that show is Andy Serkis's prison manager. Have I watched? Yeah. Great show. Love it so much. I'm really intrigued, and I'm really excited about the second series. Yeah, I do hope they don't fuck it up. I thought the trailer was good. It was a different tone than I was expecting, and I don't think that was bad. But I wasn't expecting the tone that they were taking with the trailer, and it makes it like it's interesting, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, vaguely funny. Yeah, I believe you. Sure. Yeah, you remember it now, eh? Bet you've never watched a single video of mine in my life. What else have I been watching? I have said, and I've watched some of Invincible, but I missed, like, I think I stopped watching it, like, because I remember the second series, they released it in parts. And I think I missed when, like, the second part of the second series came out. So I've seen, like, a couple episodes of the newest one when my flatmate was watching it. But haven't seen it through. And, you know, it's alright. It's not something that I'm rushing to make sure that I watch every week. I don't not enjoy it, but it doesn't feel like it's doing anything different from the other kind of superhero stuff that I've seen. In the trailer, it seemed like Andor is not uncomfortable with the role he's thrown into. He looks ready. Yeah. It looked like things are getting going in terms of, like, rebellions and stuff like that. That first series of Andor though was so fucking good. I'm really looking forward to when it comes out. I'm gonna be insufferable when it does. Another evil Superman story. Yeah. The thing I've been watching with dinner, is like when I have my tea, is I've been rewatching Bob's Burgers. A bit of a comfort show. I enjoy Bob's Burgers. I like how every character is a little fucking freak. I like that shit. That's good. I like a show where everyone's a fucking freak. Dune Prophecy, was that the TV show that they made recently? The Dune Prophecy show? Because I watched like 2 episodes, I think, of the Dune TV show. And I thought it looked... a lot of it looked like a Dune porn parody, if I'm going to be honest. Like, a lot of it was like, oh, that's... Yeah, that looks weirdly cheap. I did nothing about it grabbed me. It looked weirdly cheap. It just didn't grab me. Your SNN's comfort show is Archer. I also like Archer, but I think Bob's Burgers is more comfortable than Archer as a show for me. Different presentations of autism. Yeah. Sinan, I know you're wrong about Dune 2. I thought Dune 2 was very good. It wasn't as good in terms of desert movies from last year. It wasn't as good as Furiosa. Furiosa was when people were talking about things that were snubbed during the Oscars, that Furiosa got nothing. That Furiosa was incredible. That was a great movie. And it was a movie which showed you that Chris Hemsworth can act and is good at acting, because he was fucking phenomenal in that movie. That was the better of the 2 desert movies that were released last year. Dune 2 was... I liked Dune 2 as well. I thought Dune 2 was really good. I thought that maybe... I thought it's an imperfect project, but it was interesting and fun. I enjoyed it. It was better than the first one. You think Furiosa was worse than Dune 2, but came out less annoyed, so it gets a pass from me? See, the thing is, like, I've never read any Dune books. I've got no connection to Dune beyond the movies. So I can't be annoyed by them in any way, except in the sense of, like, did this annoy me in itself as a movie? And I thought as a movie, it didn't make me annoyed. It made me, I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna read the books, especially because, like, every time you talk to someone who's like, "Oh, you read the books," it's like, "Oh, the books are so good. Oh, the books are great." You do have to deal with the fact that a lot of it is insane and awful. But once you get over that, then it's really great. And don't read further than this, because that's when the son gets involved, and he makes everything worse. But you do have these 3 books, and they're terrible, but they're also great, and they're also the best thing you've ever read. Like, I'm not... Stop telling me this. I can tell you I'm not gonna read them. I've got other things to read. Like, you know, we can all go into the desert and have our, you know, little Lawrence of Arabia on ayahuasca treatment now and then, but I don't have to read your report card of that. I did like the first one. I liked a lot of the first one in terms of like, I liked how in the first one there was House Atreides of Scotland. I don't know how to describe that in any other way, but in the first one, House Atreides of Scotland, they're an imperial partner known for warlike tendencies, coming from what is clearly the fucking Highlands, and being brought on to be fucked over in some sort of imperial setting by their emperor lord. And that was fun, and there's a reason why bagpipes were involved in the theme for the Atreides. Good stuff. I thought it was maybe a tighter movie than the second one, but I feel like the second one packed more of a punch emotionally, and it got left. I mean, what's his name? Timothy Waif, your Victorian Waif child, Timothy Chalamet, did a really, really good job in Dune 2 of embodying different characters, basically, and I thought that was really good. I thought that Rebecca Ferguson was great and really interesting, and she performs her role very interestingly. I think then the bit where I agree with you in it being too short is the switch from Chalamet good to Chalamet bad is too quick. We did need more time with Chalamet interacting with his ability to see further futures, and all the futures in the only right way in his mind to do it. And we needed more time to sort of see that and probably have him interact with Zendaya to sort of make the transition itself feel more believable. I think that was my major critique of the movie, is that it didn't give you enough time with Chalamet getting bad to make it land properly. But I thought Zendaya was really good in it as well. I thought her character was very good. I thought it was interesting. I thought it did interesting things. It was beautiful as well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like my flatmate is a big fan of Dune, and had a lot of complaints about the interpretation. The interpretations of it that way, which is fair enough. But I mean, as someone who has no emotional engagement or even knowledge beyond the movies, I thought it was a very good sci-fi epic. It had its own interesting perspective. I thought it was interesting for it to come out the time that it came out. I think there's a lot to the movie that isn't. I don't think it's shallow. I think there's a movie that's worth rewatching within various different contexts as well. I didn't see much of the miniseries. I saw bits and pieces of the old of like the miniseries with like James McAvoy fannying about and doing things. Oh, what's his face? You know, Elvis. What? Bald Elvis. He was good. I liked Bald Elvis, and I liked the way that they filmed the Bald Elvis scenes. That was fun. Chani, yeah. Yeah, I thought she was a very good character. I thought she was the kind of heart of the story. I kind of watched. Hello, JC. I saw. Hi, friend. I saw you on Wisecrack. Excited for the live stream. Hey, we are in the middle of talking about Dune. Sorry. Dune, and we are about 2/3 of a bottle of wine deep. So things are getting froggy. But yeah, I thought Channing was like the heart of the movie more than Chalamet was. I'm gonna change up the tunes, and we can talk about something different. Anyone got anything else that they want to chat about? We've chatted about. Oh, I've got a new video out tomorrow. I forgot about that. It's just a short one. It's just a video about Oh, I forgot, Sinan, you did a whole video about Dune, didn't you? Yeah, I've got a video out tomorrow about JD Vance's comments about people being arrested for thought crime in Scotland. And there's a chance that I might get sued by the estate of Alex Salmond. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to get sued by the estate of Alex Salmond, but I do have to admit it would increase my profile somewhat.
Donna Duncan sold me LSD in a random Scottish gas station last year. You know that's a lie because we don't call them gas stations. And I'm going to sue you for all that just so that I can make the money to make my bail when the estate of Alex Salmon sues me for calling him a creepy fucking bastard. Told me Richard D. Will sucks. Now that I can believe. I don't think Richard D. Will sucks. Just to be clear, I know I critiqued his work and think that it's bizarre and maybe not great, but I think he's an effective communicator of Marxism in a great many ways. And if Richard D. Wolff is in chat, I just want him to know that I don't hate him. I don't think he sucks. But I have many critiques of his work. And I'm sure he's used to people, young upstarts, having critiques of his work over many years. Well, let's be clear. I don't just say that he's creepy. I refer to the fact that he was charged on 14 counts of sexual assault, including 1 count of rape. And I then say it's good that his heart exploded in Macedonia, and that the fact that Scotland is holding massive memorials to him in St Giles Cathedral as evidence of the fact that Scottish society is still deeply, deeply misogynistic. And you know, he was charged and went to court for 14 counts of sexual assault, including rape, and he was found not guilty or not proven on many of those cases. And you know, if I was to say that I think that he was obviously guilty, then I mean, he was obviously guilty, because the idea that 14 women, ranging from immigrant hotel cleaning staff to senior civil servants, all banded together to lie and ruin the reputation of Alex Salmond as some grand unionist plot, as a lot of Scottish nationalists seem to think. Somehow that's more believable than the fact that let me rephrase that. Somehow that's more believable than the notion that he might have just been a horrible sexual assaulter. One thing's for sure, I'm not shedding tears for the fact that his heart exploded in North Macedonia. Why was he even there anyway? He was giving speeches in North Macedonia. By the way, anyone who doesn't know, Alex Salmond is our former First Minister in Scotland, who led the initial independence campaign that was lost in 2014. And then he resigned, took a hard right-wing turn, formed a party called the Alba Party, which takes a hard line against trans rights, is pretty right-wing, and full of shysters. Alex Salmond also, in a what I would call suspicious turn of events, Alex Salmond, Trump was going to buy a load of land in Aberdeenshire, land of special scientific interest. There's sand dunes that are home to several types of bird, and they're areas of special scientific interest. And Trump was trying to buy them to turn them into a golf course, and there was huge public outcry, and it was blocked for a while. And then mysteriously, Alex Salmond and Donald Trump went into a cabin for a few days, and when they emerged, Trump was suddenly able to buy this land of special scientific interest and built a golf course on it. No one knows what went on in those in that retreat. No one knows what deal was struck, but it was definitely suspicious. And I will say this: Alex Salmond, always smug, always looked like a massive testicle, massive smug testicle. He almost certainly, in my view, was guilty of the crimes of which he was accused, because the notion that all those 14 women were lying is absurd to me. Yet the notion that a jury would find the most powerful man in Scotland not guilty on a series of sexual assault and rape charges for reasons that are obvious, including the fact that most sexual crimes and rapes do not get charged and do not get found guilty in this country, or in Scotland or England. I find that I think that the notion he got away with it and was still guilty, I find that inherently believable. So yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna get sued, I'm gonna get sued. In for a penny, in for a pound. He's a fucking piece of shit, and I hated him. I'm glad he's dead. A blight on Scottish politics, and the people who still support him go to fucking memorials for him are the saddest fucking people in the world, and so many of them think that they're left wing. So many of these people think that they are progressives in Scotland because they are still fucking thinking that they are escaping the yoke of English colonialism in Scotland. There was a poll came out a few weeks ago. Still in Scotland, there's been progress on this with left-wing folk, but still, lots of Scottish people still believe that Scotland was colonised by England and that Scotland had less of a role in imperialism than England did. And the independence campaign and loads of the inability of the Scottish left to fight back against this narrative, especially within the independence supporting left, where it is still, I think, quite a dominant view, is shameful. And at this point, I don't give a shit either way about independence, because I don't think it matters within the grand scale of the fact that the world's fucking ending. But if there's one thing that Scotland needs to do is get over the fucking independence debate and start talking about real fucking politics. And if what that takes is actually having independence, then fucking so be it. But we're busy talking about, busy fucking idolising, raping, allegedly rapey fucking former First Ministers. Fucking, I don't like Alex Salmond all that much. I don't know if you noticed. Do I know much about the Scottish? I don't know much about the SSP. I know that they're a bit odd, and a lot of people in them are a bit odd. Yeah, I mean, I, as far as I know, they occupy the same sort of position as the SWP does. But I'm not in and about fucking Scottish radical politics as much anymore because I live in London. I'm just opining from London at this point, so I don't know. I don't know if they've gotten better over the years or not, but I would imagine that they're still not ideal. But yeah, there's too many JDs around. JD Vance. What do I think of Chris Cutrone? I don't know who Chris Cutrone is, unfortunately. How do I feel about the SWP? I mean, the SWP are I don't think the SWP ever properly reckoned with the fact that they institutionally covered up sex crimes not to dwell on a particular topic, but the SWP never really came to terms with the fact that they are institutionally covered up rape. So I don't know what to do about that. JD from Scrubs is the only JD for me. I'm right fucking here, man. Why would you say that? You're on my stream. I'm the only JD for you. JD from Scrubs is the only JD for you. You come into my house and you say such things. This wine is very nice. JTD, alright, okay. Sure. Yeah. God, you're asking me a lot of questions about people that I don't know about. Mark Ruffy? Mark Rutte? You're asking? I don't know who these people are. I'm sorry. I wish I did, and I could give you an opinion or a hot take, but I don't know who these people are. I am frankly checked out of a lot. If this is like online people or anything, is that a banjo? A banjo where? What, here? It's a guitar. Mark Rutte is the former Dutch PM who is now head of NATO. I mean, what do you think I think of the head of NATO? If you want, there's not going to be anything that I have nice to say about the head of NATO. I mean, I don't know anything specific about him. I imagine he's a bad person. I don't imagine he's very good. Yeah. What bands do I like? I like many bands. What things people have been listening to lately? I just listened to last night. I listened to the album, the first album, new album. Oh, blah, 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 let me find it. I listened to the album What a Devastating Turn of Events by Rachel Chinuridi, and that was really good. That was like a kind of indie. It was an indie kind of revival, but from someone who is not a sort of greasy white guy, and as a greasy white guy, I appreciate that. And that was really good. I was sad I missed Jack White this week. I love Jack White. I like Young Fathers, Little Sims, The Strokes, Queens of the Stone Age, all these sort of people. Real Lies. I'm going to see Real Lies again. Real Lies are a band, by the way. I've seen they're a sort of North London kind of electronic band that do a lot of work that's like influenced by 90s techno and that, and they have a kind of like working class vibe that could easily stray into kind of masculinist territory, but every time you see them they have these like obviously queer interpretive dancers with them, and they're really great. I've seen them probably more than any other band because my friend Kate is like obsessed with them. So she's like, every time that they're playing, they're like, do you want to go and see Real Lies? I'm like, yeah, fine, let's go see Real Lies again. I do actually, I can play a tenor banjo. I have one at my parents' house. I do have a tenor banjo, and I can play it. Because I tuned it to a mandolin tuning, and I can play that. Yeah, they're playing in London in like April, I think. That's gonna be good. Thoughts on Fred Flintstone and his recent turn to old-fashioned politics? Oh, from what I hear, Fred doesn't let his wife work, and I find that kind of suspicious. And I know he like justifies it on the ground that he's providing her, like he's got such a good job down in the quarry, providing her a life that she can fill with what she likes. But I find it a bit weird that Fred Flintstone doesn't let his wife work. Maybe she wants to. Maybe she wants her own money that's like doesn't come directly for him. Maybe she doesn't want to ask him anytime she wants something. Maybe she's tired of always being like left at home looking after the kids, and Fred doesn't seem to be that attentive to it. So I think that's worrying. Do I have any recommended reading on NATO? Looking for an in-depth leftist history. No, I've got no specific readings on NATO that would come to mind, unfortunately. To be honest, if you just type in like NATO into Google Scholar, like NATO and Marxism, you're probably going to get like a vaguely large fucking bank of articles and stuff that will talk to you about NATO. And if you type in words like NATO imperialism, Marxism, fucking into Google Scholar, you'll get something. Oh, he loves the Strokes in the last stream. What happened in the last stream that made everyone say that I love the Strokes? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Alright, Sanan. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming around. Oh, D&D writing. That's right. If anyone wants to see me play Dungeons and Dragons, we have a campaign that is streamed the Thursdays that I am not streaming this. So next Thursday we'll be streaming D&D with Sanan, and that's always fun. Alright, we are gonna make one last tune, and while I'm making one last tune, if anyone has any other questions or any other topics that they want me to talk about, put them in chat, and I will. And if there's anything that I can speak to, we will make that. We will talk about it. And if there's not, then we will end. So get your thinking caps on. If there's anything that you want to talk about. I can't show you my pedals because I don't want to move the camera because that's a fucking hassle. But I'll describe them to you once I've made the tune. Sorry for that. I hate fucking up majors and minors. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be fine. We'll get there. We'll get there in the end. Anyway, that's good. Ted Lasso could go fuck itself. Ted Lasso has no place in this house. Fucking cynical, fucking bullshit. Oh, we're so happy, we're so nice. Fuck you, you're American. Zero time for Ted Lasso. One of my friends actually texted me today saying, John, I saw a tweet of yours. I saw a tweet where you said you didn't like Ted Lasso. Is that right? I've not texted her back yet, but I'm interested to see where that goes. Are the backing tracks on me? Yeah, of course. Did you not just see me? I just made it all there. That was just off the dome there. What do you think I've been doing all this time? Just switching on some backing tracks. The banjo was nice, yeah. Severance, we've already talked about Severance, so I'm afraid you've missed the boat there. Basically, enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I'm enjoying it and looking forward to the next episode. Alright, let's see if there's anything. I think we're gonna draw it to a close there. I think it's 10:30. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Have I seen Brass Eye in the Day-to-Day? I have, of course, seen Brass Eye in the Day-to-Day. Who doesn't love a bit of Brass Eye in the Day-to-Day? Seminal comedy. Emily in Paris' Republican gay boyfriend jam. That's right. Emily in Paris is evil. I don't mean the show, I mean Emily specifically is evil. I don't know where you'd get this shirt. I got this shirt from my brother for Christmas. So I can't tell you where it's from. He didn't tell me. But if you came in late, you missed the basically 10 minutes where I was talking about my granddad, crows, guinea pigs, squeezing out guinea pigs over the bathtub because they're constipated, and my granddad running after rabbits, and the fact that I'm allergic to guinea pigs as well, all because my granddad used to have crows. So I don't know where this is from. You'd have to ask my brother, who, if you follow me on any Twitter or Instagram, you'll have probably seen that my gift to him this Christmas was a sketchbook of that you could draw asses in, and he immediately drew Humphrey Bogart with his ass out, then Jimmy Stewart with his ass out, and then the worst one was Nosferatu, which was Nosferatu on a really horrible sort of hands and knees position with his ass right in the air. And I regret nothing. Like, if I had LSD, I wasn't gonna sell it. I would have that shit myself. Alright. Thanks everyone for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Remember, for everyone here, there's a new video out tomorrow at 8 o'clock UK time. Yeah, if you want to see me talk about JD Vance, abortion rights in Scotland, and maybe get sued by Alex Salmond's estate, be sure to tune in. It's just a short video. I'm testing out to see if like more current affairs styles videos might be to people's interests and might do well and get me more subscribers between the larger, more theoretical videos. So we'll see how that turns out tomorrow. The thumbnail's good. I like the thumbnail. But with that, I will put you on the ending screens and bid you all good night. See you later.